Yo, what up, what up, what up, YouTube? This your boy 2G, coming straight out of Rock City, New York. Today I want to talk about the Fresh Fest, the Fresh Festival. Actually, it was a couple of them, particularly Fresh Fest number two. That's the one I wanted to talk about. That's when it exploded. Fresh Fest 1 was big too, because that was the first time national, that was like the first national tour for hip hop acts, you know, until the Fresh Fest came about. Nobody outside of New York and New Jersey had ever saw rappers perform on stage, or rap groups. You know, the first Fresh Fest, that shit was dope. It blew a lot of people away. But Fresh Fest number two in '85, that was huge. You had Run DMC, Whodini, they was on the bill. You had UTFO, they was with Whodini. There was the dancers. You had the NYC Breakers with Whodini. Whodini put on a show. It was fantastic. And also on the bill, you had Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, the Fat Boys, and I think LL was there too. And also you had Shabba-Doo and Turbo on the bill. Shabba-Doo and Turbo, they was from the movie Breaking. I don't know why they was on the bill. The motherfuckers was whack. They couldn't even break dance. I didn't personally care for them. Then you had the Double Dutch girls. I like them showcasing skills, double dutching. Had all the girls in the hood trying to do the same thing after they seen the Double Dutch girls perform at the Fresh Fest. But yeah, I didn't get into the breaking shit, the West Coast style of break dancing. To me, that shit was kind of garbage. But a lot of people liked them though. But anyway, yeah, Run DMC, they closed out the show. I mean, they was big with the King of Rock. You know, the first album, Run DMC, that's Sucker MCs. That was like the first track that sounded like it was recorded in the park because New Yorkers had heard rappers rapping in the park. It wasn't a whole lot of rap albums out. You know, professionally recorded at studios. It wasn't a whole lot out. So you heard raps in the parks, and people had recorded tapes that they recorded from park jams. When Sucker MCs came out, that sounded like a song that was recorded in the park, but it was live. It was crystal clear. So to see them on stage performing that blew a lot of people's mind. It fucked a lot of people up. Now, Whodini, they was out with Escape. That's why I said Fresh Fest 2 was more better, it was more liver because a lot of the rappers that was on the bill was working on their second album at the time. So they had a lot of material to perform, you know, and it gave the audience more of a variety of music to go crazy over. Now, Houdini's sound was crystal clear because they was working overseas with Thomas Dolby. So a lot of their sounds was crystal clear. They was working. The producer was Larry Smith, and Larry Smith was an instrumentalist. He played the bass guitar. He knew music, and he was able to communicate with the cats overseas in England about the hip hop trend and how music was put down from a hip hopper's perspective. You know what I mean? Because if you listen to Houdini's first album, they had songs like "We Are Whodini." They had songs like "Rap Machine." And they had another song called I can't remember the name, but it was like techno a little bit. They sounded like Kraftwerk a little bit. It was hip hop, but it was dope. But you could tell it wasn't coming from a person that really knew hip hop. What I mean, person like a producer that knew hip hop. So when they came out with Escape, Larry Smith was present, and Escape was more. melodic. It was more funky. You know, it was more hip hop. You know. So anyway, Fresh Fest tour comes about. You know, you had the Fat Boys. They was working with. I think they was working with Larry Smith too. You know, they was yeah. They Larry Smith was the king of the beat. He was working with all three of them: Run DMC, Fat Boys, and Whodini. But yeah, Fat Boys usually came out first. You know, and you know Buffy and Prince Marky D. You know, they usually came out first. I remember seeing them here in Rochester, New York. In Rochester, New York, Fat Boys had a food eating contest in Manhattan Square Park. I mean, they was eating like pigs, just like how they did on Crush Groove. And this was before Crush Groove came out. Yeah, they was eating hot dogs. They was drinking soda. People was getting up there trying to compete with them, and the people was compete. My uncle got up there trying to compete with him, and he was throwing up. You know, them dudes was pigging out, but the shit was funny and it was free. And the Fat Boys didn't even have no bodyguards. They was up there like, what? Wasn't nobody gonna fuck with them. They was some big fat dudes. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, there was a beef on the tour, a beef that not too many people knew about. Now, the beef was between Run DMC and Whodini. You know, Chris Rock mentioned it a couple times. You know, Run used to get up on stage and he used to say stuff. He used to dish out slight disses to everybody. He used to get on stage and say, "We had a whole lot of MCs on this stage here tonight, but I'll tell you one thing: this is my motherfucking house." You know, and Run was very arrogant back then. He was on one, definitely on one. He even admitted it years later. You know, so was DMC. DMC, he'll be on the stage with a Ford. He goes, but anyway, when Run used to say that, he was directing those words. Those words were directly towards Whodini. And the reason why is because, like I said, Whodini had a more clear sound. You know, they was working overseas with the Fairlight computer. And for those of you who don't know what the Fairlight computer is, back in 1984, that was like FL Studio or Reason. You know, if you ever seen the Eurythmics video, "Sweet Dreams Are Made of These," that computer that they have in that video, that's a Fairlight computer. Not too many, no other rap artists or groups was working with that. They didn't know nothing about it. That was an overseas thing. Kraftwerk and Devo, they was messing with the Fairlight computer. That's why the sound was so crystal clear. Over here in the States, people didn't know nothing but two turntables and a mic and a drum machine. You know, and a mixing board. They didn't know about no computers. You know, Whodini, they was on point with that rap machine because they was talking about in the song "Rap Machine." They was talking about a Fairlight computer. That's why Jalil said, "What if we had a computer that can duplicate a rap? You know, a computer that never ran out of breath." They was talking about that Fairlight computer, man, because it was just like, you know, like I said, FL Studio, Reason, Ableton, all those compute. What people are doing now on computers, that's what Whodini was working with back then. Whodini is the most underrated rap group of all time. They set the trend. They was the first to do a lot of stuff that people don't even know about. You know, they was the first to go platinum. Escape went platinum before King of Rock. But anyway, back to the beef. Um, the beef was really because Run was a little jealous of Whodini. The main reason why it wasn't just because of their music, but the main reason why is because Whodini was getting a lot more pussy than anybody. You know, they were, like I said, they were the first to do a lot of stuff. They were the first sex symbols of rap. Whodini was getting a whole lot of pussy, and this was before a lot of diseases was out. You know, it wasn't nothing that couldn't get cured with a shout out back then. You know, so they was getting a whole lot of pussy, a lot. And Jalil, fat shout out to Jalil. What up, Lil? Jalil talks about it all the time. He tells road stories, man. It's a trip. His road stories is a trip. But Whodini was getting a whole lot of pussy. That's why on their third album they came out with the song "I'm a Hoe." I fucked 3 different freaks after every show. They wasn't lying about that. They wasn't lying about that. We love what he said. He said, "I'm the rapper J, and that's the rapper X. We love to play tag team sex. So when I get you in the house, you know what I do? Well, let me tell you a story that's definitely true. He was not lying. Anybody that was on that Fresh Fest tour, they can vouch for what Whodini was doing. You know, that they was doing what Two Live Crew was doing back then. What you seen Two Live Crew do back in the '90s on stage, that's what Whodini was doing back in 1983. You know, so I won't be surprised if Luke Skywalker will come out and say, yeah, he was inspired by Whodini a little bit because they inspired a lot of people. And Two Live Crew, they inspired a lot of people too. That shout out to Brother Marquise from Two Live Crew and Luke Skywalker. Brother Marquise is from my hometown. One love. But anyway, yeah, and Fresh Fest paved the way for a lot of other tours after that. But yeah, that beef between Run DMC and Whodini, it kind of got out of. It didn't get out of hand, but fans was stirring up shit, man. You was hearing all types of shit in the streets, like Whodini and Run DMC. They was arguing and fighting backstage, all types of shit. But in the end, they was cool. They still tour together. And that's all I have to say about that. But from what I hear, they're still doing Fresh Fest tours or Kings of Mike tours. But I heard they're still doing Fresh festivals. Yeah. So yeah. Once again, it's your boy 2G. Hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, or whatever. You know, you like this video, leave a comment in the comment section. Like and subscribe. Hit me up. One love.